Hello everybody, welcome to Art Club session 5 with Miss Pritchard, and today we're going to be doing some watercolour painting, but you don't have to have watercolours to do this. You can use any type of paints, because I realise that some of us might not have watercolours at home. So we're going to be doing some painting and some collage to make something called a mixed media piece of art, which means it's made by more than one technique. So the piece of art that we're going to be doing today is inspired by this really famous painting by Van Gogh, and it is called Starry Night. And I chose this painting because I really love the beautiful colours and the beautiful swirly sky, and I've adapted it a little bit to make it just a little bit more straightforward and a little bit simpler for us to have a go at today. But if you wanted to use your painting skills to try and recreate this, that would be amazing. So let's begin then. To do this activity, you'll need a piece of white paper or card. Any size will do. I've got some black paper in the same size as my white, some scissors, a paintbrush, preferably a soft paintbrush and quite a small one. I've got some watercolour paints here, but you can use any paints you have. Obviously some water to clean our paintbrushes and maybe a paper towel to wipe it. And you might need a Pritt stick or some glue. So to begin, I'm going to get my watercolours ready and I'm going to choose my colours. Now I've chosen to use all blues, similar to what Van Gogh did in Starry Night. So I wet my paintbrush, stroke it back and forth on the colour I would like to load the colour onto my brush, and then I'm going to start by making some swirly patterns at one end of my paper. So I've got my paper landscape and I'm doing my swirls at the top. So this does not have to be neat. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can take your time and do as many swirls as you like, but don't worry if they're a bit runny or they smudge together a bit, because that will add to the effect at the end. So you can see I've got some different swirls going on here, and I just keep adding more paint to my brush to make sure that they're nice and vivid. So I'm just filling as much of the top half of my page with that colour. And then I'm going to change colours here, and I've chosen a different shade of blue. Either you can use the shades that you already have, or if you've only got one, if you mix a bit of white with some of your paint or a bit of black, then you'll end up with a range of different shades. So you could practice mixing some paint to see how dark or how light you can get it. But for the sake of this video, what I've chosen to do is just use the different shades of blue that are already in my palette. So you can see I've sort of started with some swirls, and now I'm going back over and just doing another swirl along the edge of the ones that I've already done. Okay? So I'm just going to keep going and going with that blue, as make as many swirls and lines as I feel I need. It doesn't matter what direction they go in. It doesn't matter if they're big, if they're small, if they're fat, if they're thin. Just as long as they're nice curly lines and they fill in lots of the space. Okay, now you can see that I have gone back in with my yellow, and I am just adding some nice bright yellow swirls in between the blue ones. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, and if you do choose to do it, you don't have to do as many yellow bits as me. I just decided to do that because I like the way the blue and the yellow look together, but you could do more blue if you wanted, or you could choose a different colour to add in. So I'm just going to keep going and fill up all the space. Okay, so you can see I've gone almost all the way to the bottom of my page. You can go all the way to the bottom if you prefer to, but you don't have to, because in a moment you're going to see what we do at the end of this activity. So this is what you are going to end up with, okay? So you've got half of your page basically filled with those lovely swirls. Mine are blue and yellow, but yours will of course be whatever colours you choose. So once you've got this, we're going to move on to the next part of our activity, okay? And for this you will need a few different resources. So what you will need is a choice of either a shiny marker of some kind, a white gel pen or a gold or silver gel pen, and a white pencil if you have one. Okay, so with our black paper, we're going to start by drawing some rectangular shapes to be our buildings. So they can be tall or skinny, whatever you want. If you just make a line that looks similar to mine, then that will create what we call a cityscape. So you can see it's just a bunch of rectangular lines that fit together. Then what I'm doing with my shiny pen is I'm going to add some windows to my buildings. I've done some skinny and I'll do some little squares, and then I will keep going, and then at the end you should end up with something that looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to carry on colouring those windows in until each of my buildings or each of my rectangles has some shiny shapes on them to look like windows. So I've done that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and very carefully cut out that shape in one bit. So I'm just going to cut along the white line that I drew. So there we go, I've cut it out and you can see I am left with, upside down piece of paper with my sky and then my cityscape. So I'm going to add lots of glue. Just make sure that you've gone all the way to the edges. You might want to put some newspaper down or some cloth or something that you don't mind if you get glue on it, to save you getting glue on the table. So I'm adding lots of glue, and then I'm going to flip it over, line it up with the bottom edge of my picture, and just stick it down there over the top of my painting. Can you see? So I've left a little bit of my swirly sky in the background and then my cityscape at the top. Okay, and that is what you will end up with.